Hey, this is Steve Creech, record producer and music aficionado, and you're listening to the multiple award-winning podcast, The Business Side of Music, with Rock Gods Hall of Fame member and your host, Bob Bender.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Can we get serious now?
One thing that did happen during the 60s was some music of an unusual or experimental nature did get recorded and did get released. Now look at who the executives were in those companies at those times. Not hip young guys. These were cigar-chomping old guys who looked at the product that came and said, I don't know. Who knows what it is? Record it, stick it out. If it sells, all right. We were better off with those guys than we are now with the supposedly hip young executives who are making the decisions of what people should see and hear in the marketplace.
Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to the business side of music.
In the studio with us today here in Nashville, Tennessee. You came all the way from Iowa. Jason Walsmith, who is the guitarist and vocalist and co-founder, let's not forget that, for the group The Nadas. Did I say that right?
That's right, yep.
The band was formed in 1995 in Ames, Iowa. And along with Jason, you have Brian Duffy on bass, Mike Butterworth on guitars and vocals, Brandon Stone on drums, and Perry Ross on keyboards. They actually became the house band for the People's Bar and Grill in Ames, Iowa. They were called the best college band you've never heard of by Playboy magazine in 2001. Their song Walk Away was featured at the end of Speed Channel's TV show Pinks. The band also performed at South by Southwest in 2006 and has opened for Bon Jovi. They were inducted into the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2018. I didn't know such a thing existed. 11 studio albums, 4 live albums. And Jason has spent much of his life on the road as a career musician, photographer, storyteller, traveler, and adventurer. Most recently with his wife, Emma, and their 3 dogs in their Storyteller Overland camper van.
That's right.
You named it.
We named it, and then we wrote a song about it.
Searching for a guitar case that could handle the rigors of the road, Jason began his next adventure, which is one of the things we're going to talk about today, creating the guitar satchel. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you here.
It's interesting when you hear your life described in 30 seconds.
Yeah, encapsulated in 30 seconds, absolutely. One of the questions I always like to start off with is, how did you get started? When did you start playing? What were your musical influences?
Well, I got started as a kid, kind of just doing, school choir, church choir kind of things, piano lessons, all the things that give you a musical foundation. And then when I got to college, I searched for some people to play music with. I actually started a band with some friends from high school who had gone to college there, and we looked for a guitar player. We found Mike Butterworth. He auditioned. We invited him into the band, and everyone else disappeared and lost interest. So he and I, and this was actually in 93. So I know that there's that 95 founding year out there, but it was actually 93. So we're kind of celebrating our 30th anniversary last year. But yeah, so he and I started the band, and we started as a duo, an acoustic duo, both bringing songs. We started by learning a mixtape that had a lot of great music on it and playing out. And then we needed a longer set, so we decided it was easier to write songs than it was to learn other people's songs.
That's a good move.
And that's how we started. Yeah.
What were your musical influences growing up? When did you start playing? When did you actually put your hands on a guitar?
So
I
brought a guitar to college that I didn't know any chords for, but I knew it was important to have a guitar in college. I had the desire, and really, it became sort of my comfort zone. My friend in college, when things were stressful, I would just play guitar. That was the first year. I started a year before Mike. So I kind of learned it all real quick, and I just learned the same 4 chords I play now, and I've worked with those all these years. So, but yeah, influences were people like, I don't know, my parents listened to a lot of James Taylor and Crosby, Stills and Nash and kind of acoustic rock from the 70s. And then my mom listened to a classic Des Moines country radio station, KRNT. And so a lot of classic country at that time, or probably modern country at that time, but would be considered classic now.
The band got together. Were you guys, was it just a casual kind of a weekend garage band in the beginning, or did you set goals early on?
I would say it was casual at the very beginning. It was just for fun. We played a lot of parties, and then we ended up playing, kind of just had this policy we would play anywhere, and I still have that policy today. But we got to be pretty dang popular really fast. So that People's Bar and Grill was a pretty legendary place. People like Uncle Tupelo, who became Wilco and Sunvolt, Widespread Panic, Smashing Pumpkins, all these bands were playing this bar in the 90s. And there was a great AAA radio station called KFMG, which is still around as a low power station today, but that would funnel all these acts into this bar. And so we had a great foundation. There were bands like Lone and Navarro, who we became friends with, and they were a duo, and the Bodines, who we got to play with and just kind of like set this model for us. And so during college, we started touring a little bit around the state, other college towns.
You were doing the college circuit.
Doing the college circuit,
yeah.
And then out to Lawrence and up to Minneapolis and things. And then graduated in 96 and kind of hit this crossroads like, oh, now is when I'm supposed to get a job, right? But I was like, nah, let's just try this rock and roll thing. And Mike had one semester left, and he dropped out and just started hitting the road. And back then we did 250 days a year.
Wow.
Yeah. Coast to coast. We'd do a couple trips each way each year, and then mostly play the Midwest. Dallas kind of was as far south as we went, and Minneapolis, Duluth was about as far north as we went. But yeah, played tons of shows. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, started having little kids, and so we cut back to about 100 shows a year. And then it's ebbed and flowed and evolved over the years, and still putting out records. Probably play 30 or 40 shows a year now, and then I do a ton solo. So I put a solo record out in 2022.
And what's that one called?
Overlander.
Which is the camper.
Yep. It actually, it's an amazing fairy tale story. It was a COVID thing. The band lost 60 dates, and Mike, my partner, had started a business a decade or so prior and was pretty settled into that as far as like he had other options, but I didn't really. I did photography but all those went away too. And so I convinced my wife that if we bought this self-contained camper van, we could tour around, play people's backyards, socially distanced, and we just hit the road. I just put a thing out on social media. It said, I'll play anywhere, man, and booked up 40 some states and traveled around.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Playing backyards and rooftops and
doing
beaches.
the couch concert circuit.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It's like so fulfilling. It was really, really magical. But then what happened was I wrote this song called Camper Van. The Camper Van company heard it and actually ran into the CEO at a event, and he said, I heard you have a song. And I said, yeah, I'd love for you to hear it sometime. He said, right now. And I just got out a guitar and I played it in the parking lot for a bunch of strangers. And at that point he said, I want to help you do what you're doing. And so they started giving us tour support, and they did that for about 3 years, and we just kept going.
Wow. Now, is your wife musically inclined?
No, she's she's one of the best music fans I've ever met.
Yeah. And
she's also way more responsible than me and more organized, probably even friendlier. No, we're a great team. She's a great partner in all things, but I do the music and she does the rest.
The band has released 11 studio albums and 4 live albums. That process, obviously, as you said, the band is getting ready to celebrate its 30th year together. But releasing 11 studio albums, who was really the key component or components of providing the material for those albums? Because that's a lot of input you have to create.
Yeah. So, and I think there's actually maybe even a couple more. It's hard to count our albums. I'll be honest, because the first one we don't really talk about. It's kind of out there.
That was your mixtape you were talking about?
No, we have a record called Not a Sound, which sounds like Not a Sound.
Yeah.
That's like got black and white printing. We recorded it in a plumbing supply shop in Fort Dodge, Iowa. that we don't really acknowledge, but it's out there and we still play songs off of it.
Great little bootlegger.
Yeah. And then we do, we have like a duo album. We have a kids album. I don't know whether we count those, So anyway,
I want to stop you here. You have a kids album.
Yeah. When we had little kids, we decided that it was time to make a kids record. And then we did a year of touring kids shows, and it was brutal.
They're your toughest critics.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try keeping the attention span of a young kid.
And try, setting up, sound checking, and getting ready to perform by 9 a.m. at a library in a small town.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So it was brutal. And then we double dipped that year. So we would do nighttime venue shows as well, So that was a tough year.
Were those mostly acoustic dates or electric? Or
No, full band.
Full band?
Yeah. Yep. And we have kind of double dipped over the years again with, we did a duo record. We play a lot of folk venues as a duo, 2 acoustic guitars, 2 voices, and then we can kind of play that same market again as a band. So it's kind of helped us be able to really squeeze a lot out of different markets. Oh, but as far as who writes, so Mike and I, we're a duo. We write together. We started out probably the first half of our career writing separately, bringing them together, bringing the band in. And then we were working, I remember vividly, we were working on an album. We were recording in Dallas, Texas with the Pipes Brothers. If you remember the band, Deep Blue Something, they had a hit called Breakfast at Tiffany's, which was a massive hit. And so we worked with them. We were sitting at the hotel bar writing for the record we were there to record. And we were both kind of stumped on something. And so we shared with each other where we were at and each made a suggestion. And it was like a light bulb went off and we thought, why don't we do this together? And so from then on, we've written everything together.
Yeah, we had Dave Lanahan on the show a few weeks back, and he was talking about the same thing, that the co-writing process is actually easier than writing by yourself because you're able to bounce ideas back and forth and off of each other.
If you can get over I heard that episode, and if you can get over the ego part, if you find someone that you can work with and share with and really collaborate and get over the being stuck in your ways part, it's
right.
Good. He mentioned that if you have a third, they break the tie. So the last 2 records, we brought in our producer when we wrote the whole thing with our producer and who we're a huge fan of. And so that worked every time.
Yeah.
Except for as a producer, he thought he had more votes than us. So he kind of would.
Yeah, no, it's one person,
stubborn.
one vote, right? Yeah, it's typically what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, it was great. Mike and I are very different writers. He would more likely work some sort of flowery metaphor into a song, and I would more likely tell someone's full name and date in a song.
Yeah.
And so you put those together and it becomes sort of the better part of the two.
When we go back to talking about people's influences when they were growing up, musically when you're writing, is it a style of your own? And typically those are, and there's nothing wrong with that. But do you look at some artists and kind of get that inspiration?
Yeah, it's definitely evolved over the years.
Which is good.
Yeah. And some of them come back around. I learned to play guitar. I used to not admit this, and now I feel like I want to wear it on my sleeve. But I learned to play guitar with Jimmy Buffett songs.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, but for a little while, I mean, I was definitely an obsessed fan out of high school into college. And then I felt like that was too mainstream to admit, you know?
Right.
And so I kind of just didn't really talk about it. But I learned to write songs with Jimmy Buffett songs. I learned to play guitar and then also write songs. And really, I feel like I learned to build a community for our fans by following his career and following his footsteps.
We're going to take a break, get a word in for a couple of our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to have some more conversation with Jason Walsmith.
You're listening to the business side of music.
This is Mark Allen Barnett, singer, songwriter, creative coach, and mentor. Are you an artist or songwriter or a family member or friend of someone who is? Are you trying to find your way through the often confusing world of today's music business? I'm here to help. Over the past 40 years, I've written and recorded hit songs, have had more than my share of live performances, and have seen the ups and downs of the music industry and what Music City, also known as Nashville, has to offer. I'm here to share that information with you. The Mark Allen Barnett Songwriting Tours of Nashville are a one-day to multi-day private interactive workshops developed to help you discover your best approach to songwriting, performing in front of a live audience, along with the correct way to network within the music industry. Our workshops are based around what you need to know. While in Nashville, you get an insight from behind the scenes, learn about the history of Music City, separate fact from fiction, and give yourself or a loved one the time of your life. This workshop makes the perfect gift for someone you love who wants to get their foot in the door of the music business the right way. For more information, go to www.markallenbarnett.com or www.musicchoosesyou.com. Remember, you don't choose music. Music chooses you.
As a musician, you have a dream, that vision of what success looks like for you. Though it's not only about the money, money is a part of it. Whether you've been extremely successful or just striving to maintain a regular cash flow, you need a plan. Money Concepts can help you develop a customized plan to achieve the financial stability and success you want. For over 40 years, Money Concepts has been providing holistic financial planning services to individuals, families, and business owners. As an independent firm, Money Concepts and their associates are committed to always represent the best interest of the client. It's really about independence coupled with committed benevolent interest, which means that they can represent your client, not a product supplier. It's not about selling products. It's about helping you achieve success. To learn how this can benefit you, contact John Adams at 737-867-9309. That's 737-867-9309 for more information.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Back in the studio here in Nashville, Tennessee, Jason Walsmith is sitting across the podcast table. As we said earlier, he spent most of his life on the road as a career musician and a photographer, along with being a storyteller, which I think that really goes hand in hand if you're going to be a songwriter for a band.
Absolutely.
Along with being a traveler and an adventurer. You and your wife get in the storyteller overland camper van with the dogs and travel. And part of that process was you were looking for a guitar case or a guitar bag that could handle the rigors of the road, as we stated earlier. So part of your next adventure was you came up with the guitar satchel. Now, let me preface that all by saying there's already a lot of product out there on the road. You know, in the stores and online, and, you know, everybody has created something. What was your process of coming up with this bag, and why did it set it apart from all the others?
Yeah,
I'm putting you on the spotlight here.
I love talking about it. I really feel like I made something for myself that I thought, well, if I wanted it, maybe there's some other people that would want it. So, but it really goes back a long ways. I've probably had, you know, we talked about all those days on the road, and thousands of shows and dragging guitars around. And I've taken guitars in their original hard shell cases. I've had them in Anvil, ATA flight cases. I've had
which
them in
get real
places,
heavy, real quick.
Real heavy. I've had them in, you know, injection molded wheeled cases. We've put them in trunks so that they were all together. We've done everything. But I always wanted to have an acoustic with me. I wanted to take something to the hotel. I wanted to take it to the campfire after the show. And so I was always hunting for a good soft case, a gig bag. And there are a lot of them, but there are a lot of $50 ones that are going to break, like almost the moment you walk out of the store. And so I've had dozens and dozens of them over the years, and I was really frustrated with it. And I've always wanted something different, even just a different aesthetic. You know, they all look like they're made for a SWAT team or something, you know?
Yeah.
A tactical style with plastic zippers and nylon that rips if you touch it too hard. So I didn't like any of those. And I will say there's a few brands that are good. You know, I have a Gator double bag that I've used when I need to take 2 guitars, and I don't have that for myself yet. And a mono case is a good brand that lasted me a long time. My son took it to college. So there are some good acoustic guitar cases, but nothing that had the aesthetic that I wanted, the functionality that I wanted. And so I just eventually decided this was a good time to make one. At this stage of my career, I thought I should do something else. I've helped other people launch brands and do really, a lot of success with those. And I thought I can do this. So I have this double barrel shotgun that my dad gave me that he traded a horse for in 1968 in Iowa. And it came in a shotgun case that was this dry wax canvas, quilted. It has like a pool table felt liner, brass zippers. And I've always sort of admired the case as much as I've admired the gun. And so I found out many years ago that it was made by this company called Boyd, which is an Iowa company that's been around since 1902. And so I finally just decided I'll see if they'll make it for me. And I took that case down there and I took a guitar case down there and I said, will you make me a guitar case like this gun case? And they said, no, we don't do anything for other people. We just make our own products. And I said, okay. And I left. And then like a year later, I went back and said, I've been thinking about this. I'd really like you to do this. And they said no again. And, you know, I just persisted until they finally said yes. And so they manufactured it for me using the same materials they use in their gun cases. And I gave them a design. I was thinking about it on the way over because on one hand, it's pretty simple. It's a bag for a guitar. And
you brought one here to show us. One. Yeah.
And, but as I was thinking about it on the way over, there's like probably 30 or 40 design decisions that I had to make along the way, besides just this size and shape and depth and thickness of the structural material and the style of zipper pull, all these things I had to kind of make a call on, which there's a lot of ways you could go, but you have to get to the point where you make the decision, you know? So I am pretty proud of what this became, and I've been using it now I used 3 different prototypes along the way, and now I'm using the real thing. And the idea with this, whether you're a professional musician taking it on the road, or whether you're living in a van, or whether you are a guy that goes to the lake for the weekend or goes to the office every day, my motivation, I think, is that people just take their guitar with them. I think a lot of times you look at your guitar in its 30-pound case and think, that's going to just sit right there. Or you think, oh, it came in that case and it's 30 years old and I don't want to bang that case up.
Right.
And I just want people to take their guitar with them every day like they take their computer bag with them. And, you know, it's just an everyday carry.
It's funny you say that because when I look at your guitar bag there and I look at the computer bag that I carry around with me, it's almost identical.
Yeah.
My bag that I put my computer in is basically military grade or better.
Right.
You know, it's got everything you could ever ask because these are your babies, and you've got to take care of them. And no matter how new or how old that guitar is, you're still going to treat it like it's your baby.
Mm-hmm. And you carry that bag with you every day, and you want it to last. You don't want it to fail on you and let you down when you're walking into a coffee shop or something. And so I just wanted to have a guitar case that functioned in the same way as that computer bag. And it's a lot like my computer bag too.
Well, in fact, my computer bag is probably celebrating its 20th year.
Amazing.
That I've had it, and it's still in amazing shape.
And what brand is that? Do you mind
well, I don't know. I actually picked it up at an Air Force base of all places. My kids were in the military, and one day we went to graduation 20 some odd years ago, and I found this Air Force camo bag, satchel, and I thought, man, my computer would fit perfect in that.
Nice.
And I couldn't tell you the brand, but I mean, you can tell the quality, the workmanship that, you know, it's going to be
have
pretty...
to show me when we're done today. Maybe I'll get some pointers for my next iteration of bags.
I think when you create that guitar satchel, and of course then comes the next question, or not question, but maybe statement, is it's great you're going to put a new guitar in that, but if you've got something that's 30, 40, or in my case, 50 years old, you still want to make sure it's well protected. And
I've got a lot of old guitars, and now I have a lot of cases for them. And so sometimes I'll switch them out, but sometimes I leave them in there, and I just pick whichever one I want to take. But I pretty much take one. Now, in all honesty, I don't have one on this trip, which is crazy to come to Nashville and not have a guitar. But I was delivering this case to Luke to give to one of his artists he's going to work with coming up on tour. And so I had to bring it empty so that I didn't take a guitar back without a case. But anyway, every time I leave my house, I bring a guitar. Whether or not I take it out and play it randomly or not, it almost isn't important, because I know I'm not going to play it if I don't have it.
Right.
But if I have it, it tends to make magic happen, you know? And so I like to have a guitar with me.
Do you build different size cases for different size and style of guitars? And of course, you notice I'm a bass player.
Yeah.
Do you design them for that too?
Right now I have a dreadnought. I call it a dreadnought size, which is, fits most full-size guitars, and I have a parlor size, which fits most small-body guitars, classical, OM guitars, things like that. I don't have a bass or electric yet, but I had to start with something,
right? And
that is my plan, is to build out the offerings, make a jumbo, that kind of thing.
How long have you been doing this?
November I launched.
Well, of last year, 2023.
Yep. Yeah, so not very long.
It's a new venture.
Very new, new, yeah. And right now I'm just selling them on my website. I eventually will probably get them in stores, but I kind of had to get all my systems in place and work out all the kinks. I'm doing it all on my own, built the website, built the brand, do all the social media and stuff. So, and that's kind of where my strength is. I mean, I think I made a great product, and now my strength is in getting the word out, I think. But I don't have any guitar stores yet, so
that'll come with time.
Yeah.
1 or 2 NAMM shows, and that'll take care of that.
Yeah. I'm a little scared of going to NAMM, because I'm afraid that one of those other big case companies will see it and decide they'll just do it and do it better, So right now I'm kind of flying under the radar till I go on your podcast, I guess, and then now it'll be everywhere.
Yeah, now it's going to be everywhere, worldwide. We're going to take another break, get another word in for a couple more of our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to have some more conversation with Jason Walsmith.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Branding. What is it really? It goes by many names: marketing, licensing, and image. When in reality, it's 7 key branding formulas that all need to harmonize perfectly. Mess up just one formula and you have compromised the whole brand build. Dead Horse Branding facilitates all 7 formulas under one roof, building, promoting, and marketing all brands at all different stages of their level. We are a marketing team's dream, and we were built to service talent, artist managers, record labels, independent artists, iconic brands, legacy estates, and startups. Rooted in music and seated across other industries like fashion, various talent, hospitality, authors, interior designers, lifestyle brands, and corporate entities. The 7 branding formulas do not discriminate. 7 branding formulas, all in one swift movement. Sick of beating that dead horse? Come to Dead Horse. Please visit us at deadhorsebranding.com or send us an email to info@deadhorsebranding.com.
When you have a Korg synth at your fingertips, the possibilities are endless. Be it digital, analog modeling, altered FM, wave sequencing, or the multi-engine synth, Korg gives you easy access to a variety of features to help you get the perfect sounds quickly. Whether you're a professional musician or just starting out, Korg truly has a synthesizer to help you express yourself. Visit Korg.com or your favorite Korg dealer to get your hands on one of their products to create new music always. Korg, the official sponsor of the business side of music.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Buckle up, this road could get bumpy. You just gotta hold on.
back in the studio with Jason Walsmith. During the break, we actually kind of got into the dissection of this bag. And so I want to go back and cover some of those things. You were telling me a couple things I like. You have a support at the bottom of the bag that's removable, and then you also have a neck support inside that bag, which you don't see often in a soft shell carry-on bag.
Yeah, I wanted to make sort of an unstructured, casual, low-profile bag. There are a lot of gig bags that are very, very protective, but those things become they become bigger and heavier and harder to get around with, especially on airplanes. So part of my motivation for this was to make it so it was more easily carry-onable. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah, we'll use it. You just created a new word.
And, having flown with guitars hundreds of times, you're always faced with this dilemma. The first dilemma is, do you check it or do you carry it on?
Right.
And I decided a long time ago, I'd rather have my guitar with me. Too many things have gotten lost or broke. And so, but then you're faced with the next dilemma. Are you able to get it in the overhead? Now, we all know most of the time there's plenty of room and it fits, but it depends on the person working the front of that plane, whether they want you to or not. It's always up to their discretion. And I found that when you carry a bigger black, like tactical looking case on, it's more likely that they're going to stop you and say, no, that won't fit. Even though I've been on 3 legs to get here and I know that it fit in every other plane. But I designed this to look more like a casual piece of luggage and like all the other things that are in the overheads. And so I have not yet been stopped at the gate with them saying that I need to gate check it. Also, because it's lower profile and less structured and softer, it just fits up there nicely. And I designed these too. So a lot of cases will have either a handle on the front or one on the back, and it kind of puts you off kilter as you walk down the aisle of the plane. I mean, most of your listeners probably sit at the front of the plane, but I sit in the middle or the back of the plane. And so I put these 2 handles on there so it just kind of balances it as I walk down the aisle of the plane, so I'm not hitting people in the shoulder as I walk by.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's something that if you do a lot of flying, which I used to do myself, you really want that guitar either in the overhead or in the garment closet. Mm-hmm. Checking something in is you're testing fate, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so important that, once again, you got to protect that baby.
Absolutely.
I want to jump back real quick because one thing that I kind of scooted over in the introduction, but I got to ask you this before we close the show. You were named, the band, the Nadas, was named the best college band you've never heard of by Playboy magazine. Okay, how did that come about? I mean, honestly, I've never heard of that.
Never heard of that accolade?
Yeah, that accolade. But it's pretty cool, especially by Playboy magazine.
It was a very cool thing for us. And I can trace it back exactly. So the writer, her name was Allison Lundgren. She was the writer for Playboy, and she pitched this story to do basically, and you'll have to check the dates on this, but she basically wanted to do an Almost Famous type of story. Yeah. But I actually think that this magazine article came out before the movie. So we'll see. Now we know the movie Almost Famous was about Cameron Crowe's time at Rolling Stone, which was a long time before that, but she just wanted to do this story about an unknown band that everyone should know about. And so she asked her peers around the country to all submit bands that they thought would be good for the story. And she said that 3 different people from 3 different parts of the country all said us. And so she reached out and said she wanted to go on the road with us and write a story. So not only was it named, I mean, it was a beautiful 7-page article.
Wow.
And it was an amazing thing. It was our break.
Yeah.
And I told you I'm a photographer. I've done a lot of magazine photography over the years. I had 45 images published in that issue, and then I did like 2 other assignments for them too. So I got to be in the article and have my photographs published with that article, which was really fun. It's a great article. She did a great job. She came on the road and she said from the very beginning, she said, this is going to be fun. We're going to be friends. She came on the bus with us, like just toured with us, She said, but I'm writing this article. So anything you say, just know that anything you say or do, I can use in this article. And so we did that. And our drummer at the time just picked all the things to say. Like, I did not pay attention to that warning, but it made the article have a little bit of a rock and roll attitude to it.
A little bit of spice to the...
Yeah, which is necessary for Playboy, which is so funny that, it doesn't even exist anymore. It was such a huge thing, and it doesn't even exist anymore. So,
right.
But yeah, it was a big moment for us. We had a pajama party, and
y'all have pipes?
Yep. Delivered in limos. There's a fun video from that night that's out there somewhere on the internet of us playing People's Bar and Grill and all the people arriving in limos, and we had it was the closest we ever got to sort of like mainstream success. We had a couple of different execs flying in their private jets, and because we'd always been an independent band,
right?
And I'm very careful when I tell this story because I don't want it to seem like we're sorry for ourselves. But it came out. It was the October issue of 2001. It came out September 4th of 2001. And so September 11th of 2001.
Just kind of sucked the air out.
Went away. Yeah. But it was fun 7 days or whatever that was.
Yeah. Better than most.
Yeah. We, to do the photo shoot, so a lot of the on the road pictures were mine, but to do the shoot for Playboy where they brought their photographers out, we flew a little private plane into Chicago and landed at the time. They had this airport called Meigs Field, I think it was called, right downtown. And so you fly through the buildings of Chicago and land on Lake Michigan, and they just came out and photographed us by this plane. And it was pretty rock and roll.
I got to find that article.
Oh, I have hundreds of copies. I'll send you one.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Before we go, how can people find out not only about the Guitar Satchel, where they can get one, how they can get one, but how they can find you and your music?
I'm just going to rattle some stuff off.
Please
if
do.
That's okay.
And we'll put it in the show notes.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with Guitar Satchel on social media. I've gotten to know some really great artists through this process already, and a couple of them are here in Nashville. And I have a featured artist section on the website that lists Grammy Award winners and campfire pros, I like to call them, because those are the people, I think it's across the spectrum of people who could enjoy using this. So some people are just, people I know that play music and like to entertain. Some people are real legendary pros. So that's guitarsatchel.com. The featured artist section is really fun. And then I'm having fun on Instagram and Facebook with social media because I'm just treating it like an adventure, going to Nashville, being on a podcast kind of thing. And then my music, I would love for people to check it out. The Nada's latest record came out last August. It's called Come Along for the Ride. And it's everywhere you stream music, and also thenadas.com. And my solo record, I'm still out there playing those and booking as many backyard and living room shows as I can, and some venues. I love venues too. And I was thinking that I talk so much about how much I love playing these small private shows that I feel like I'm leaving venues out. And we've had amazing partnerships with venues that have lasted decades. And so I'm not here to leave venues out of the mix. I just am enjoying the adventure of it all. But that's Jason Walsmith, storyteller.com. I put that monkey ear at the end of my name when I went out and started doing the solo stuff because I do like to talk a lot. I like to talk about the songs before I play them, which a lot of people do. But also I do some public speaking and things. And so I just thought it would make the whole thing make sense if I called myself that. And I promise you it was before it became as cliche as it is now. But it's there, so we got to stick with it.
Doing any kid shows at libraries?
Nope, done with that. Retired from that, thankfully. Yeah.
Yeah, that audience.
Unless someone asks, then we'll do it.
Yeah, and then you'll do it. That audience is all grown up.
That album, that album is called Bright-Eyed and Bushy-Tailed. And as far as kids' music, I have friends who are award-winning kids artists, and I feel for them every time I think about what they do. But I think it should stand the test of time as far as a kid's album goes. So just because our kids are now grown in college making their own music doesn't mean that there isn't an audience out there for that record. So check that one out too. Bright-Eyed and Bushy-Tailed.
Here's a shout out to our loyal listeners. Without all of you, we would not be one of the most listened to music interview podcasts, including achieving #1 status in many countries around the world, according to Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our show, please check out our Facebook page at the Business Side of Music podcast. Please do not forget to subscribe and definitely hit that like button. While you're at it, go to our page on YouTube and click on the Business Side of Music podcast to subscribe. You can check out our video webcast there and get to see me and our guests, such as Jason here in the studio, along with Buddy the Music Dog, who has definitely made his entrance today and parked himself at the feet of Jason. Last but not least, check us out and follow us on Twitter, although I keep saying that, and I probably need to change my show notes. X, as we call it these days. You can find us at Biz Music Podcast. That's B-I-Z Music Podcasts. Jason, thank you so much for taking time to be on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
And flying in to do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
I hope so.
Oh, man, take care.
Thank you.
The Business Side of Music is the creation of Tom Sabella and Tracy Snow and is produced by Bob Bender. The Business Side of Music is recorded at Music Dog Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Production sound design by Keith Stark. Voiceover and promo by Lisa Busan.
8 hours to the Black Hills Mountains, past the Turtle Buttes, and we're still counting the signs. To the Wall Drug Store, playing Stone Face with Crazy Horse. 7 hours to Yellowstone, oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam. Gonna stand where Custer last stood, making my peace while knocking on wood. We're gonna drive our camper van, we're gonna cruise across the land on the road less traveled then. We're gonna drive our camper van. Only 45 miles and it's all 2 lanes across Idaho via Coeur d'Alene. On the way back home we'll take the southern route along the Snake River like you wanted to. 4 more hours to Puget Sound. Nephews growing by leaps and bounds. Stay a few days just to rest our bones. Stop in Oregon on the way back home. We're gonna drive our camper van. We're gonna cruise across the land on the road less traveled then. We're gonna drive our camper van. Blue highways, scenic roads and byways, Elliott Bay to 38, slow. Head south on the 101, stopping for